What's up, YouTubers? Welcome back. Today we are going to be taking a look at two individual sets from Joy Toy. This is going to be the Flying Heavy Cavalry set, both Type A and Type B. And as you can notice, these are in the 1/18 scale. Looking at the front of the box here, you can see the great artwork of what the figures actually look like. I'll come back around to the front in a moment. If I turn it to the side, you can see it says 10th Legion Flying Heavy Cavalry A and B. As I spin the box around to the back, there's some product information right here. You can also see two great pictures of each of the figures and the packaging. Spinning it around to this side, again it says 10th Legion Flying Heavy Cavalry A and B. Top of the box says Joy Toy. And real quickly, the bottom of the box says Battle for the Stars. Now the front of these boxes have a Velcro flap on each one of them. Now you can get a better look at what the figures look like inside the packaging. And you know what? Let me grab this one over here and we'll look at this one first. Here you can see a fantastic portrait of the actual figure all geared up. Inside the bubble here, I apologize for the glare, is the figure and all his accessories. Put this one in the back. Let me pull this one forward. Again, you can see a great picture of the actual figure and everything included in the packaging. If you're a mint and box collector, once again, this is a great way to display these figures. But you know me, I say let's open it up and check them out. I've laid everything out on the display table so we can see everything that was included in all the packaging, and right out of the gate I can see that these figures each come with some pretty similar accessories. Now looking at the gentleman on this side, Type A, you can see that he comes with this white rifle, and so doesn't the Type B. Looks like they have the same Gatling gun. Obviously the same set of wings, or same set of molded wings, but different colors. Each one of the figures comes with two sets of hands, closed fist and gripping hands. They each have the same knife, but they actually have different pistols. And of course, each one of them has their own individual helmet. Now would be a great time to look at these, so we'll start with these white rifles. I'll see if I can get them both into focus here. And they're the same exact rifle for each one of the figures. A nice white color to them, with a little bit of speckling, a wash on them, with a red canister. And I really like the barrel on this gun. Nice and futuristic looking. Next we'll take a look at the Gatling guns. I'll try to hold both of these in front of the camera, and admittedly it's a little bit more difficult than it sounds. You can see the gunmetal gray plastic with all the wonderful sculpting in each one of these. It's got a red canister on them. The tips of each of these Gatling guns, you can see the barrel. That's all molded in. And you can actually see, let me put this one down, make it a little easier. Looking at this side, again, fantastic detail with all the mechanics and working parts. Next, we'll take a look at the knives. And again, these are absolutely identical, so we'll just hold one of them for you. You can see the hooked blade on this, painted silver, with the black knuckle knife handle. I believe we saw this knife before. Now this gentleman has this pistol, and what I'll do is I'll use my tweezers because my fat fingers tend to get in the way. Here we can see it's painted in the same gunmetal gray, and it's got a black grip on it. You see all the bullet detail on the clip on the underside. Very futuristic looking. We'll do the same with his gun. I'll use the tweezers. This one's completely different from his partners. Again in the gunmetal gray with a different type of grip and foregrip on this. Looks like it's got a small sight on top. Now, as I've said, each one of these gentlemen has their own sets of hands. There's two sets for each. I'll use the tweezers here once again so you get a better look at these. Nice brown gloves. Looks like it's got a little bit of a knuckle duster on the knuckles and a faux leather look to them. And then he has these fists right here. Same color and design except a closed fist. Great looking detail on those. We'll do the same for this gentleman. Grab his gripping hand. And this is an all black type glove. Different type of knuckle dusters on top. Looks like you got a padding on the back of his hand, or back of the glove. And he also has a set of fists. Let me turn this around so we can get it with the tweezers. Again, same great molding, except this time he has closed fists. Now, we're going to take a look at the wings, the whole reason why I bought these sets. And each one of these is absolutely molded identically, except different colors. And you can see this is in a really nice looking red, a little bit of dark wash on it. Fantastic details with the gray canisters and the white rear wings. On the back side of this is just painted, not a lot of detail. And you can see the actual peg in the center right there. That pegs into the back of the figure itself. We'll take a look at the white one. I really like this one in the white with the yellow cautionary tape and a little bit of wash on it. The gray canisters, and this actually has white rear wings with red tips on it. A little bit of yellow highlighting on it. Again, not much going on back here, with the exception of the actual peg for the figure. Great looking detail on both these wings. I'm really impressed with those. Next, we'll take a look at the pamphlets that come with each of the figures. And you've seen these before in my other reviews. This actually says 10th Legion, Flying Heavy Cavalry, Type A, and that one's Type B. Inside, a really nice portrait of the actual figure and all his included accessories. And I actually refer back to these when I want to keep all the parts together with my growing collection. On this side, you can see the disassembly example, which is always helpful in case you want to take the figure apart. Great addition to have, and I recommend not throwing those away. So if I can't get this to stand up on camera. Alright, we'll take a look at his helmet. And right out of the gate, once again, I really like this helmet. I like the way it looks with the white and the blue with the breather mask. I really like how it looks, very futuristic looking. Looking on the top, you can see the two blue chevrons. That's a really great touch. And just to point out, this is not a helmet, this is actually an additional head. So what you need to do is pop the head off the actual figure and pop that on. We'll take a look at Type B's helmet, or should I say additional head. Another fantastic looking helmet with the desert tan and the red visor. Gray breather masks. Same detail on this side. I spin it around to the back. You can see the air vent back here. When I tip it up, you can see the two red chevrons on the top front of this helmet. There we go, get that into focus for you. And again, this is just an additional head, not an actual helmet. So once again, you have to pop the figure's head off and pop that on. And lastly, we'll take a look at each one of the figures. And after looking these over, it's really important for me to point out that each one of these figures, even with all these hydraulics and all this mechanics, each one of the upper vest or armor plates are absolutely identical, just in two different colors. So we'll take a look at each one of these. We'll start with this Type A blue gentleman. We'll look at his head sculpt. Nice stern look on his face. Got a great looking mustache. A red scarf. The blue armor with the white highlights. The layered armor. You can see all the hydraulics up here. Now on him, his belt is actually an independent piece. Coming down to his thighs. Same blue armor with the number 10 on his right thigh. And I really like how they put the same blue chevrons on his knee pads like his helmet. All black boots. I turn it to the side, you can start seeing some of the great hydraulic work back here. Fantastic detail all the way down his arm. Coming down to the side of the leg, you can see some of these, what I tend to think are stabilizing boosters. We'll look at the back. I'll tip it up so now you can get a really good sense of all the mechanical arms that's on this suit. Right here's the peg hole for the wings and the booster itself. There's a vent underneath that. The back of his belt. Great looking detail down his legs. Same on this side. The mechanics go all the way down to his wrists. Now right here is a flexible clip to hold his pistol. A nice profile shot of his thighs and his boots. Great looking detail on this figure. Now let's grab his partner and see how they compare. I can get him to stand up. Alright. Now on this gentleman, we'll start with his head sculpt. He kind of has a plain looking stare on his face. Nice molded hair. Same upper body armor, except this one's in desert tan with some wash on it. Now, it looks like on this gentleman, they actually gave him a belt and an exoskeleton attachment for his legs. He has different armor on his thighs with the number 10. Of course, different knee pads and brown pants. Nice profile shot. And I'm noticing that these pistons are actually painted gold. Here's a nice shot of the exoskeleton going down his leg, all the way down to his ankles. I'll spin him around to the back. Same great detail back here. The peg hole. And here's a look at the back of his belt. Got some speckled wash on the back of his thigh armor. And he also has a flexible clip, but this time it's actually attached to the exoskeleton. That, of course, is for his pistol. And back around to the front. Alright, now it's articulation time. Now I want to point out that the articulation for each one of these figures is absolutely identical. I'm going to take this gentleman and slide him off to the side. We'll look at him in a moment because he does have some more hardware on his legs. We'll start with this gentleman. And as you can see, the head moves left and right. He can look up roughly about that far. Tuck his chin in pretty decently. Good range of motion. Now we'll start with the actual shoulders here. And with all this gear on, we'll see how this works. Now, normally these things rotate a full 360 degrees, but with all this gear on, it is hindering it a little bit. And if I turn it to the side, you can actually see how all this moves and pivots with the actual figure. You ask me, this is some really fantastic engineering on Joy Toy's part. If I come around to the back, you can see all these things pivot all over the place. So his range of motion will, again, be limited, but I think the end result is worth it. I'll bring his arm up this far, and his arm will go back that far. Now, it'll go up about this far on both sides before it starts bottoming out. And now as far as the elbow, nice great bend at the elbow. It does rotate. I'll bring it up like this so we can see a nice tight 90-degree bend. And if I move my fingers in here, you can actually see it does rotate 360 degrees. And with this wrapped around his wrist, again, it's preventing it from going all the way around, but my elbows don't rotate 360 degrees, so it's pretty realistic to me. Coming to his wrists, these rotate 360 degrees. Now this particular wrist goes in and out, and of course that's to better hold on to his gun. Now for his right wrist, this one goes in the up and down direction, so there's down, and there's up, and again the armor is actually hindering it a little bit. Now all these Joy Toy figures actually have a diaphragm joint which is covered, and he has a waist pivot, really great side to side motion. He can crouch over this far. Even with all this armor on, he can still crouch over and pick things up off the ground. Now coming down to the legs, he can do the splits about this far. Again, all Joy Toy figures have a thigh cut right there. So this rotates. My favorite articulation, Spartan kick forward.
This is Sparta!
And double knee joint. So this bends nice and tightly. Right here you can actually see the knee pad sticking out a little bit. Come down to his foot. Point his toe down. Point it up about this far. Also has a toe joint. And of course, an ankle rocker. And mind you, he'll get a lot more range of motion, but it's this armor right here that's hindering some of that. Now, I'll bring in this gentleman, and we're going to look at him from the waist down, because he does have that exoskeleton on. And we'll see if that hinders any of his articulation at all. So, again, he can kick up this far. If I turn it around to this side, we can see the actual gears move. Bends his leg nice and tight. And again, this bends with it. So it looks like no hang-ups there. And I wanted to actually show you these both side by side because he has all this extra gear on his legs. So it looks like all the articulation is pretty much the same. Now here's where it's going to get interesting. Let's see how they hold their weapons with all this gear on. Right out of the gate, I started with their pistols. And this is about the best that I can do. Because of all this gear, I can't get this left hand to support that pistol. His finger is on the trigger though. Not bad. Same thing with this gentleman. He's really trying to sight down that pistol, but I just can't seem to get that left hand around. But he can one-hand this. Here they are holding on to each of their white rifles. I went ahead and put the pistols on the clips on their thighs so you can see how that goes on. Surprisingly enough, he can shoulder that rifle pretty decently. I do have his left hand supporting the gun, but he really can't sight down that sight. I'm not surprised with all this gear on. Same with this gentleman. Both hands are on the actual rifle. Finger on the trigger. That's about as good as I'm going to get with each of these rifles. Now, one thing of note, I own enough of these Joy Toy figures to absolutely guarantee these figures can shoulder those rifles if they didn't have all this gear on. Lastly, we'll take a look at the Gatling guns. I went ahead and swapped out the trigger fingers for the gripping hands, put on each of their helmets and their wings, and I thought it was rather interesting that each one of these Gatling guns are actually left-handed, and of course that's determined by the actual handle and the way they're molded on each of these guns. Here's a better look at him. He's got both hands on that gun. No problem at all. There's his pistol. There's the wings on the back of the figure. Look at the next gentleman, who I must admit is becoming my favorite of the two. Both hands are on the actual Gatling gun. Helmet on his head. Really love the way this one looks. Pistol back in the clip. And his white wings are on the back. And I'll just point out that these go on real easily. You just pull them out and line up that peg to that hole. Just that simple. No problem at all. So another fantastic set from Joy Toy. This time we have some air cavalry. We'll wrap up this review by doing some comparisons with other toy lines. We'll start with another Joy Toy figure from one of the maintenance teams that they just released. We'll grab a Law from G.I. Joe, 30th anniversary. How about a Marauders Russian figure? He seems a little bit taller. And last but not least, I'll grab a Boss Fight Studios Spartan figure. If I can get him to stand up on camera. Now, surprisingly enough, these two new figures are actually shorter than even the current Joy Toy figures, which in my opinion is fine because not everybody is the same height or same build. This gives you a look at how they compare to multiple toy lines. Well, this is going to wrap up another review. This time we took a look at the Heavy Cavalry sets, both A and B together. Absolutely fantastic detail with their exoskeletons, their wings on their back, Gatling guns, and just enough paint difference on the upper body armor to make them look completely different. They hold on to their weapons pretty decently with all the body armor on. Again, gotta give it credit to Joy Toy. The absolute great engineering of all those moving pistons. The wings finally give us an air support team. And I will admit once again, that blue figure has become my favorite of the two. Which one is your favorite? I'd love to know in the comments below. If you have the means, pick them up and add these guys to your collection. And I know I say it at the end of every video, but I really appreciate all you guys taking time out of your day to watch my videos. If you like what you see, join the community and hit that subscribe button. And most importantly, don't forget to help a fellow collector out and share your knowledge.